Commanders. Commanders. Peter says the 3-team race in the NFC East. Can we talk about this team? Come on now. Raise your hand if you have them at 2-0. Jamie, you predict them to get in the playoffs. I don't know if you have them at 2-0. But you do get huge credit, Jamie.
Thank you.
Listen, they beat Arizona and they suck. I don't know. Arizona's tough. They beat Denver. They beat Denver in Denver. I don't care who the quarterback is, who the coach is, any era. That's tough to do. And it's just like, look, Brian Robinson was really good. Sam Howell looks like completely the part. And I think it's very cool because all the shine goes to Philly and Dallas and Philly and Dallas. 2-0. Got some really good teams out there that aren't 2-0. Patrick Mahomes not. Josh Allen's not. We know damn well Joe Burrow is not. Sam Howell is 2-0 as a starter in the NFL. That ain't 1-0. That's not an anomaly week one. You had a road win. It's pretty awesome. I think the Commanders play a tough breed of football. Ron Rivera, every time you sleep on him, he's like, I'm going to churn out a team this year, guys. I got a squad. And he does. I like the Commanders a lot.
He won a start last year to end the season, right? So is he 3-0?
There you go.
It's great.
Even better.
In the last...
Out of the linebacker position group from week 1 to week 2.
I think you're seeing steady growth. Jamin has really come on this year, and you see his ability to make plays. He's a high-impact guy that really has a hit-and-run-through mentality, and he does a lot of good things getting around the ball. Cody has grown in the last 2 games. You've seen the difference. He's learning and really kind of trying to shake some of the habits he had from when he was in Seattle. In Seattle, they were a gap-controlled defense, very strict, one gap, one player, whereas our guys are a little bit more, I don't want to say 2-gap as much as, Jack has given the tackles in front of the linebackers some liberties. And so really what the linebackers do at times have to make those guys right. And you're asking a little bit of the linebackers, but at the same time, you don't want to keep Jonathan or Duran from having the opportunity to be explosive and get vertical and get upfield. I mean, those 3 plays Duran made in a row, those are because of some of his decision making, which puts a little bit of stress on the linebackers. But if you're going to make plays, Jack doesn't want to stop that. So, it's a little bit tougher for the linebackers. You saw it in the first half. Cody started slow and then finished up with 10 tackles in the second half. And he was playing off of those guys, and he's learning to play off the guys. That's a lot to ask a linebacker. Jamin's used to it, and so when you watch Jamin, he almost puts them in a bind sometimes because Jamin has a tendency that he sees something, he'll run through. So they're kind of learning and developing and growing as a group.
And starting out at home.
Jack, obviously when you draft a guy in the first round, like you guys did with Jamin a couple years ago, you have this long-term vision of what he can be. But at this point in his career, as you guys have had different personnel in and out, his role has evolved. How much are you thinking about, how you use a guy that was a first-round pick, getting him on the field 100% of the snaps or 60% of the snaps? Does that impact anything at all?
I would say about 0%.
And how
involved in my thinking? 0%.
Yeah.
I'd say what I'm thinking about is deploying 11 guys against the things they're trying to do and give us the best chance to be successful, help get the ball back for our offense, help the team win. That's all we're about. So, look, I think he's doing a good job. I think he's developing. I think he's playing. He's off to a really good start to the season. So that's great. And we need that from all our guys. And where we weren't as sharp as we want to be, we clean it up. But we are moving forward, and it's all about Buffalo right now.
John Allen kind of laid out his what he thought a great defensive game was. He said something like 10 sacks, a shutout, crazy stuff. Just wondering for you, what is your definition of a great defensive performance?
One that helps the team win. It's all about the team and winning. Individual accolades and being able to beat your chest. That's all great, but really it comes down to the longer you're around the game, you recognize it's all about winning. It's all about our fans are going to go home happy when we win, and we're going to have great Mondays when we win. So it's all about the team doing all it can, and sometimes it's collectively. Sometimes one phase is operating at a higher level than another, but we all pull together and come out with a win.
And I'm wondering how, as this group gets more time together and spends, how do you see kind of the high standards that you have either elevate or if they don't change, like players kind of meeting those standards more consistently?
Yeah, I think, as a defense coordinator, I establish high standards, my expectations. the things that I want us to strive for, but ultimately it needs to be something that the players grab and they make it, something they're pushing and demanding of each other. And when that happens, then really great things can occur.
How do you see kind of the high standards that you have either elevate, or if they don't change, like players kind of meeting those standards more consistently?
Yeah, I think, as a defense coordinator, I establish high standards, my expectations, the things that I want us to strive for, but ultimately it needs to be something that the players grab and they make it, something they're pushing and demanding of each other.
Get off to the start. Do you notice those standards kind of take into effect, guys pushing each other?
Yeah, I think more than anything, we promised we'd go in there and strain for 60 minutes, and it took every second of those 60 minutes. So that's, things happen. Plays are going to be made. We're going to keep coming. We're going to be relentless. We're going to be urgent, and we're going to compete.
Coach, last year Buffalo was in 12 personnel, less than almost every NFL team for the season. This year they've been in 12 personnel almost more than anybody else.
They drafted a tight end in the first round.
Right, absolutely.
Pretty good player.
As a defense coordinator, though, what does that shift kind of do to you for game planning with only 2 weeks to see that shift in the scheme?
Yeah, I mean they are a concept-driven unit. They do a great job. They've got good people. They've been explosive. They've done it for a long time. They've been ever since that big old athletic quarterback has been there. They've been tough to deal with. They've got a really good offense. And really good team.
Yeah, and in a similar vein, they went for it on fourth down 4 times last week against the Raiders. As a defense coordinator, again, like kind of what does that tell you?
That's in their DNA. That's becoming more and more popular. I think people are going back and realizing what Jack Del Rio did in Jacksonville years ago. And I took heat because it was like, you can't do that. That's not Madden that you're playing. No, it's prevalent in the league right now. Teams are being aggressive, going for it on fourth down, and certainly they have shown that.
Coach, so going back to your comment a moment ago about needing every second of the game on Sunday,
Yep.
What went through your mind specifically when the team went down 21-3?
Keep fighting, and that's what I conveyed to our guys. We keep playing one play at a time. You just don't know, and that was kind of proof how we just were steadfast. There was a stretch where we went 6 series. We had a couple 3-and-outs. We had a couple turnovers forced. Held them to a field goal on a short field, and that was huge. So. And those, that stretch of 6 series allowed us to have a chance to take over the game offensively. Really did a great job, and so that's what we're all about. Just keep competing.
What have you made of the Cinco package this year?
Sorry?
What have you made of the Cinco package this year?
I'm not talking about.
I mean, like
you are beauty because you are as consistent as anybody that I've ever seen. But no, we're not talking details of our packages.
Okay, I didn't know if you'd talk about just what you've seen from those guys in that look. But that's
when we put our 5 bigs in there, they do a good job, and So.
And what do you make of the rise of aggressiveness throughout the league? You were saying like teams are going for it more on fourth down. Like what do you attribute that to, and what does that do to a game?
Well, the game's growing. I mean, it's constantly changing. The quarterback run was just. You had to worry about a few different guys. Now everybody runs. Everybody runs the quarterback. Everybody has guys that can move around and extend plays, and that's just an element that's part of it. An aggressive nature, looking for shots, looking for opportunities to develop explosive plays. That's just part of today's NFL. So, we could go through it's a long, time that I've been in the league and watching where it was and where it is, and it continues. At warp speed, continues to move into a more space, more speed is required to deal with the speed and space that we're facing.
Is there a ceiling to that, or do you think it'll just keep?
Oh no, it'll just keep going.
It'll just keep going.
Keep going. It's great stuff. That's what keeps us up, at night working.
Jack, when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, you got pass rushers to attack and all that. What's the balance for you, like giving them a little bit of freedom, but yet leaving them to play within the structure to keep that guy from getting outside?
Yeah, that's the key, to be on the hunt, because you have to rush and you have to go, but you have to have that awareness of the pack, so you keep them trapped. So that's the challenge. When a guy's a big old gifted athlete like Josh is, that makes it just a bigger challenge.
Realistically, how many times would a guy who teams spy on a quarterback? Remember, it was that trend, but realistically, how many times could you do that in a game?
Do it as often as you want.
When you in the season, how about like when you're in the business?
What'd you make of the Hail Mary? Just from your perspective.
It was poor execution on our part to allow that to occur, and we were fortunate that we were able to make that play to get the stop after that. But we feel like we're well prepared for that, but that obviously didn't come off the way you'd like.
Is that a full-out review of what you guys are doing at Hail Mary afterwards, or is it just like a side?
Yeah, look, structurally and schematically, we're always going to look at everything that occurs and make sure we're doing the best things that we can to give us the best chance. And we did not execute well there, and that's a chance to grow.
And because it's your first year here and it's only been so many months, do you feel like you have like a really good understanding of where each guy fits, wants to do, like, or how to deploy those guys, or is that something you're still learning kind of throughout the season?
You know what? We're still learning, and I think you're always learning your guys, because certain guys are going to do certain things in certain moments, and other guys are going to do other things. But at the end of the day, I think we got the pulse for who we are. But on top of that, you never want to put anybody in the box. You want to make sure that you're giving them every opportunity to show off exactly who they are and what they're about. And I think that's the most important thing of coaching, is developing those relationships, not saying, well, he can't do that or he can't do this. No, I want to give guys an opportunity to show me what they can or cannot do. And I think that's important for us as a team, but it's also important as a coach to not put anybody in the box and just allow those guys to be the very best of themselves.
Coach Sam talked about having the opportunity to kind of like rank plays and kind of orders that he would like to be called in certain situations. Is that something that when you came in, you're kind of like, that's just who I am as a coordinator and play caller with my quarterback, or is that something he had to earn, or maybe even a mixture of both?
Well, let me just say this. First and foremost, I learned a long time ago. Learned this as a player, and I've learned it as a coach. If players like certain things, guess what? They're going to try their best to make it work. So as a coach, you always want to give your quarterback that opportunity to have a ranking in certain situations. That way now you're giving him the green light to take ownership in what we're doing. That way now, hey, this is the play that he chose. He should have a complete understanding of the what's, the whys, and the hows. And he should also have a complete understanding of why we believe this play should be successful. With Sam taking ownership with that, it forces him to take ownership, but also, too, it puts that ownership on the players as well. So, I've been accustomed to learning a lot from Coach Reed. This is something that I've learned from him as a coach, and it's a great deal and a great sense of ownership that you're giving to your quarterback. So I love it. I like the idea that when we come to the sideline, when things don't go right, he can tell you exactly what happened. Or he can tell you, hey, you know what, I should have did this or I should have did that. Well, hey, they didn't give us the coverage, the exact coverage, but this should have happened. So I love the fact that he has that ownership.
And then going into halftime, coming out of halftime, obviously kind of a limited time period for you and for Sam and for Coach Pritchard to kind of get together. But do you like to have kind of a script coming out of the locker room, if that's a good term for it?
Well, I think at any time you always want to make sure that you're prepared for the second half. We get together as a staff. When we first get inside, we want to talk through all scenarios. Everything that has taken place throughout the whole entire half, we want to make sure that we have a pulse for what has taken place. How they're playing certain personnel groups, what coverages, down and distances, what are they doing differently in the red zone, something that we haven't seen on tape. So there's always an open dialogue. The beauty of that is that I learned this a long time ago. You got to over-communicate clarity. You got to make sure that we're always on the same page. So with all that information and feedback, now you start piecing together ideas on things that, maybe you had originally scripted, that, you know what, this play won't be as good. Let's make sure that we're getting to this. So you always got to have you always got to be prepared for the unexpected, but on top of that, having a plan for it as well.
Coach, I just asked Coach Del Rio this question. I'm going to ask you as the offensive coordinator. When the team went down 21-3, what went through your mind specifically?
Keep playing. It's a long game. At the end of the day, the only thing that we need to do is be the best team over a 60-minute period of time. Does not matter what the score is. The only thing that we have to do, and this is the message to our offense, we want to play one play at a time. That's it. The only thing that matters after that play is over is the next play. That's the only thing that we can control. And so when you're in those moments, you have to live in that moment and understand how important that moment is, because you have 10 other people on that field that are counting on you to go out there and be the very best of you. So when those situations come up, you don't fold the tent. You don't find a way to just decide to say, hey, this game is over. No, we can continue playing. This is a part of our DNA. This is why we work the way we do. This is why we prep the way we do in the classroom. This is why we do certain things as far as preparing our guys to live in this moment and understand how valuable this moment is, but also, too, not taking anything for granted. Okay, I thought our guys showed a tremendous amount of grit. They showed a tremendous amount of resilience, and you must have that in this industry if you want to be great. I thought they did a great job of that, of showing that and putting it on display last weekend.
Along the lines of communication with Sam, what's that say about him? He's his third career start, and he's coming to you with plays. You have that kind of communication with him. I imagine some quarterbacks in the league, it takes a while to even get to that point where you're having that kind of discussion with him at halftime, especially being down 21-3. What does that say about his poise and the way he's kind of handling everything?
You know what? I can't speak on behalf of everyone else, but I can just say this about Sam. Sam's a very mature kid. I mean, obviously his dad is a coach, and Sam is very honest. He's very quiet in a sense, but he has a calm demeanor, but he's confident. So as we put the game plan together, I want him to have ownership in what we're doing. And so if he's taking ownership, that's letting him know that he can trust in us, that we're giving him the levity of saying, hey, you know what, I like this particular play at this moment. And so that's how trust and bonds are formulated. That's how teams are built. And so we want to make sure that Sam feels comfortable in everything that we're doing. And that's what it's about.
Hey, Coach, in facing your opponents this week, Buffalo, what are some of the things after looking at film of them that you say offensively that we must be able to do against them?
Well, first and foremost, they're a great defense. We've had a few battles with them when I was in Kansas City over the past 4 or 5 years. It seemed like every year, maybe 10 years it seemed like. But this team they're a great team. Obviously what they're doing on offense speaks volumes. Quarterback is a special man. I mean, he obviously has a lot of great players around him. On top of that, defensively, I mean, they're pretty damn good. I've known Sean McDermott since 1999. It's kind of amazing that all of our relationships started in 1999 in Philly when we were all there together. So I know the character of the coach, and knowing the character of the coach, I'm not shocked nor surprised of the success that they've had. And so when you're facing this defense, you know exactly who they are. You know their DNA. And at the end of the day, we just got to make sure that we remain poised and we understand this game plan here is going to take a little bit of patience. Okay? We got to be patient to drive the length of the field because they don't play a defense where they're willing to give up a big play. That's not who they are. These guys are very sound. They're very fundamentally sound, They're very disciplined. They do a great job of over-communicating, and they play hard and they play fast. So this is one of those opponents. You know, that obviously every week is a great test, but this is a great test for us at this particular time. And it's a great test because if our focus, attitude, and determined mindset is in the right place for 60 consecutive minutes, we'll give ourselves a chance to have a chance.
Coach.